Welcome to the FantasyFling DFS channel. Take a break from the season-long commitment and join us for all things daily fantasy sports. DraftKings, daily drafts, the newest and hottest DFS deals, and all the best ball and DFS content you can handle. All right, let's dive headfirst into this episode.
Welcome in. It's FantasyFling and JamesonRulez. We are looking at the Saturday slate, the two-gamer. I love it. We got all these slates coming up. We got the two-gamer, and then we got the Sunday main slate, and then we got the Monday slate. How are you feeling about those?
I'm feeling pretty good, all things considered. I don't feel near as burned out this year as I did last year coming into the holidays when the NFL starts throwing. You know, we got the Thursday game, we do Saturday, we do Sunday. We got a couple on Monday now. But I'm feeling good. I know this slate doesn't look very appetizing for Saturday whatsoever, and we'll get into that here in a second. But I'm happy to see you back and healthy from Vegas. I know we talked about it last week. It seemed like you enjoyed yourself a little bit, but I'm glad to see you back on the grind here. You
know, I should have got married at a younger age, and the bachelor party wouldn't have been so brutal. Yeah, I can't do benders anymore. So I'm glad that said goodbye to that life. So that was fun. I'm still
right
tired.
there with you. I can't go out like past dark anymore. So I end up half asleep and all that stuff. But we'll get into this Saturday slate here, which honestly isn't much of one, but we'll talk about a couple plays, try to get a little different here, and hope to win some money off of it.
Yeah, let's jump right into it. In fact, go look at the game tiles real quick over on DFS Army with the domination station. So, there's two games, and really there's just one for me that stands out, and that is Buffalo with a 28-point implied team total going on the road to face the Chargers, led by Easton Stick and a new coach because Staley's been gone. He's canned. So that game has the highest total, 44 points. And, Jameson, I'm definitely going to be looking to stack that game. The most stacking that I will do will be in this game. And, I think I'm probably going to hit it a few different ways. Some just heavy game stacks and try to ignore the other game. And then, I'll also stack this game and, take pieces of the other game. But this is really the one that's going to be my focus. What about you?
Yeah, I'm right in there with agreement with you. I'm just having a hard time, which we'll talk about here in a second, getting a little bit different. And by different, I don't mean, playing Chargers or playing Steelers. It's just how to differentiate the Bills to where you're not on the same as everybody else, because everybody's in the same thought process. And I do want to point out Keenan Allen didn't practice today. I'm not sure if Easton Stick would even get him there as the top wide receiver. Jamar Chase is out, so that leaves Stephon Diggs as like the only big name wide receiver on the slate. And then we go at quarterback. It's the same Josh Allen, and then it's three backups. So it's really hard to kind of get different. And these teams are not very good, so you don't want to get really cute about it, because I really don't think Mason Rudolph's going to get there. I don't think that Easton Stick's going to get there. So obviously Josh Allen is the heavy hitter here. Jake Browning, I do like to get a contrarian, but I'm not even going to bother playing Mason Rudolph or Easton Stick. It's really hard to get different on this Saturday slate with just how lopsided it is.
Yeah, and the one worry obviously you have with the Buffalo side is that Los Angeles doesn't have to do a lot, and Buffalo just leans on the run and James Cook. So obviously want to get a lot of James Cook. Anytime you see a total, this lopsided, you obviously want to get a heavy amount of the running back, and James Cook's been really good as of late. So I like that. The other game, Cincinnati, both of these teams are road favorites. So Cincinnati going against Rudolph. Brownings look pretty good, but it could be without Jamar Chase. So, we'll probably have some Higgins consideration, but this game projects to be a lot closer, although low scoring, 37-point total. So, unless it hits pretty high over the over, I'm not really too interested in this one.
Yeah, it's just tough. And I will say for the Cincinnati side, if the Steelers had any offense at all, I mean, the Bengals defense has been very vulnerable this year. I'd be a little bit interested, but I don't see Mason Rudolph doing much. We've seen him. We know the story on him.
Yeah.
Outside of him getting whacked in the head by Myles Garrett with a football helmet. But outside of that, it's, Deontay Johnson. They had George Pickens, who wasn't blocking on a run play. He just kind of gave up, and it just seems like it's really unraveling for Pittsburgh. But going back to Buffalo real quick, you brought up James Cook. The Chargers have given up the second most catches to running backs. And I know that would be obviously a James Cook spot, but they've also been terrible through the air, and we haven't seen Josh Allen really kind of cook through the air the last month or so since the offensive coordinator change. So I think James Cook's viable, but I also think that the pass catchers are viable. I think you could just play them all, to be quite honest. If you want to go lean all the way Bills, say they put up a 30 or 40-point game and everybody gets a little bit of action, instead of just grabbing like a piece or two where you have to lean running back for the wide receivers.
Most definitely. Starting kind of with quarterbacks here, I think, like I was telling you beforehand, I think there's a very good chance that I'm just going to lock in Josh Allen on the slate. And, I think at some point it kind of just has to regress to the mean. Like, these backup quarterbacks have been coming in and playing, pretty good and, ending up being the top scoring or, scoring enough to where the, salary factored in, they ended up being in the nuts. I think at some point, you just kind of got to play the elite option versus three, backup quarterbacks. So that's how I'm going to play it. I think it could be hard to get unique by just playing Josh Allen. However, I think if you go over the field enough and you play, you got 150 lineups and they're all Josh Allen, well, you can get a lot of different combinations there, to make yourself unique. So I think that's probably where I'm going to head with it.
Yeah, the only other person, like I said, I would consider is Jake Browning. He's started or played 5 games. I'm going to go over the last 4. 12 points, 26, 24, 19.
Yeah.
So he can kind of definitely get there. And, Josh Allen, over the last month, they've leaned on James Cook so much. His game log the last 4 is 16, 21, 40, and 23. So he's obviously got much more upside than Jake Browning, but let's say for some reason they just don't have to throw the ball very much. I can see Jake Browning, I don't want to say getting there, just kind of surpassing him. But I do want to go over the Cincinnati playmakers. That's the only other thing I'm really interested in on this slate. I think both Joe Mixon and Chase Brown are viable. I think if you want to get cute, I think you can play both of them in the same lineup. We've seen the screen game kind of work. I know they're basically getting to a 50-50 timeshare right now. I think T. Higgins is going to be really owned. But, kind of what we talked about, these other 2 teams on this slate just really, you might be able to pick off a piece, but other than that, there's really not much to grab. So if you want to, I kind of talked about running backs a little bit, and I think you made your case for quarterback. We can get into running back here real quick, and I'll start off with, like I said, Joe Mixon and Chase Brown here.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, like I said, I think both of them can split. On the other side, Najee and Jaylen Warren. Jaylen Warren outsnapped Najee Harris. Seems like when they're in a deficit, it's Jaylen Warren, and then, when they're in the lead, it's Najee Harris. Bengals defense has been really bad this year. We've pointed that out a couple times. So I think both of those guys are viable. You're basically looking for somebody to end up in the box, so get a touchdown. Other than that, Austin Eckler has not looked very good. He might be the focal point in the Chargers offense. You're hoping for dump offs. And then to get a little bit contrarian from James Cook, Latavius Murray has been getting the red zone touches. So when they're on the goal line, it's not James Cook. It actually is Latavius Murray. And then other than that, there's really not much as far as running back goes. Ty Johnson's gotten a little bit of work. That's about it.
Yeah. At running back, obviously, it's a little concerning, I guess, with, Chase Brown getting more and more work as far as, he got 25% of the touches last week. So yeah, that's a little concerning for sure. Trying to pick a running back there, and then I just kind of looked at matchups as far as the team you want to target the most. So let me pull this up here again. Cincinnati is giving up 14 yards above what an average defense is expected to give to the running back spot. So, I think Najee and Harris, I think both of these guys you could certainly take a chance on. Najee got 42% of the carries last week versus 25% Jalen Warren. But Jalen Warren got the bulk of the targets, as it's been most of the year. So, I think the way I'm going to play this slate, just because I'm really just kind of going to be locking in Josh Allen, and I'm going to try to get exposure to all these backs because I don't want one to burn me. I have the Josh Allen play, but then I had 5% of the wrong back, and I needed that guy, and that's why I lost. So I will get exposure to Warren, to Harris in those good matchups. Same thing with James Cook. Like I said, I think James Cook is far and away the best play on the slate. Just how hot he's been running lately. I mean, he's averaging the most fantasy points per game on the slate. In fact, I was looking at yardage like the last 4 games, and he's up there. So he's quietly actually number 2 in rushing yards behind Christian McCaffrey. He's got 968. He's also got 434 receiving yards. So he's just been incredibly good. And, just given the spread, I think it's kind of a no-brainer for me. Just going to play a lot of James Cook, even with a lot of Josh Allen.
Yeah, I think James Cook's just about the lock button. And not that I'm wishing injury. I think the only way he would fail is because of an injury, as bad as that sounds. So,
right.
Like I said, running back is really thin. We'll move on to wide receiver here. Like I talked about it, Keenan Allen, I think, is kind of, I don't want to say the key. I really am having a hard time. I think this might be the way to differentiate on this slate. Like I said, Stephon Diggs has not gotten there. He's 8,900 over on FanDuel, and then on DraftKings, he's 8,700. Obviously, the top play on the slate with Jamar Chase out, and then, but he hasn't gotten there. So if you're going to play James Cook, are you playing Stephon Diggs with him? If you do that, you play Josh Allen, it starts getting a little bit expensive.
Mm-hmm.
I think T. Higgins with Jamar Chase out ends up probably being the highest owned wide receiver on the slate. Going up against Joey Porter Jr., who's actually been pretty good. But, the splits without Jamar Chase, T. Higgins has done really well.
Yeah.
But like I said, the rest of it just kind of pick and choose if you want to go over the rest of the wide receivers. It just really not a whole lot there.
Yeah, I just want to kind of finish up a running back thought. I will get some Austin Eckler just because specifically Keenan Allen is out. I think there's a good chance where they just dump off a lot to him. So, want to have a little bit of mix of all those guys, the top guys, including Mixon. And, wide receiver, obviously, if Keenan Allen did play, he is one of the best options. He averages by far the most points per game out of all those options. And, he moves inside and outside, so he's really matchup proof for the most part. Of course, that's with Justin Herbert throwing him the ball. So I'm not sure Easton Stick will get him the ball like Justin Herbert can. But, yeah, honestly, I feel like this is a slate. You don't necessarily have to force stacks, only, be in 2 games. So, like, for me, specifically with Josh Allen, he does so much running on his own. I might just run the optimizer and not force, like, a Diggs stacks. And if I get some, great. But I'm not trying to get a 0 from Gabe Davis, right, because I forced a stack. So if it happens, great. Because there's going to be enough correlation in the lineup anyway that I just don't think it needs to be forced. Just something to think about. And then, obviously Diggs is the top stacking option. Kincaid has kind of been a disappointment, only got 2 targets last week. So, at wide receiver, it's essentially Diggs and, a little bit of Gabe Davis. But Gabe Davis will also burn your lineup and get you a 0. So it's almost 0 or 20, with Allen.
Yeah. And going over some – go ahead.
Yeah. And also, obviously if Chase is out, I think you have to play Higgins. We kind of saw the same scenario last week. Like I did not play a lot of Jalen Waddle because I thought, oh, well, Tyreek is out. Now Sauce Gardner is going to be on Jalen Waddle. And I would have preferred Jalen Waddle if Tyreek actually played. Well, ended up not mattering, and he just ended up torching them. So, sometimes I think it's just best to just play them when they get that elevated volume. Specifically on a small slate like this, they're going to get the targets.
Absolutely. Just some other wide receiver notes. The last time Mason Rudolph played, Deontay Johnson got a lot of targets. Obviously, this was a little while back. So, like I said, if the Steelers can muster up anything on offense, I mean, this is a really good spot against Cincinnati's defense that just lost DJ Reader. They haven't been good, all season to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Not really interested in George Pickens, but either will anybody else. If he catches a touchdown, that could be kind of a difference maker. One other person I do want to point out, especially if Keenan Allen is out, is Josh Palmer. The box score last week looks a lot better than he actually did. 4 receptions for 113 yards and touchdown. He had nothing going to the third quarter, and he caught a big bomb, and then the rest of it was kind of there. Tyler Boyd hasn't really gotten there all year long. Quentin Johnston is a guy nobody wants to click. And then the only other thing I do want to talk about with Dawson Knox back, kind of kicks off Khalil Shakir off the field. He's not seeing the production that he was. And then Dalton Kincaid last week kind of got hurt with a shoulder injury, but like you said, 2 targets, no receptions. So he was on a hot streak, and that just kind of, ever since the new offensive coordinator changed, things on offense has kind of changed a little bit in Buffalo.
Yeah, that's really good points. I think you play, a little bit of Palmer and Johnson just based on garbage time, going to be trailing and, throwing the ball. And you're going to need some cheapies, of course, specifically if you're playing like Allen and Cook and, Higgins and some of these other guys that together, they're not cheap. And you're going to have to differentiate yourself because this is a 2-game slate. So those are some guys on the Los Angeles side. To your point, sure, Higgins or Boyd hasn't really done much this year. But it's kind of next man up. So I think if Chase is out, maybe Boyd will get some elevated targets in that role. And I think that would be the time that you would play Boyd. But if Chase is in the game, then, I don't have any interest in playing Boyd in this spot.
Right.
And Irwin's done pretty good at times too. So is he active? He got 0 targets last week.
Talking about
healthy?
Irwin?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's healthy. He just didn't get there.
Just didn't crack the target share last week. Okay, I just want to make sure because when I see that,
gets a little goofy.
We cover a lot of teams, and sometimes you miss the third guy on a team getting hurt. The third or fourth guy. So
right. But other than that, at wide receiver, I really can't really tout any of these other guys. If they catch a touchdown, I mean, there's really not much, especially hand building. You're not going to be picking the rest of these wide receivers in your lineups.
No, absolutely not. On the pitch side, I like that you mentioned Deontay, and I don't know if you saw, but Pickens wasn't even blocking last week. It should have been a touchdown, and he just gave up on the block. Maybe that'll put him in the doghouse, and Deontay will get some more targets. I don't know, specifically with Mason Rudolph coming in.
It just seems like it's unraveling in Pittsburgh. So,
yeah,
like I said, and Cincinnati right now is actually in the playoffs, so they have something to fight for. And Pittsburgh's not technically out, but it's just not looking good at all up there.
No, it's not. It's not. But well, we got some tight ends that obviously are viable. Double tight end, specifically on these small slates, is heavily in play. So, Jameson, why don't you start it out with your tight ends?
So, obviously, Dalton Kincaid. I'm willing to go back to him, even though he didn't do very well. A guy I'm kind of interested in is Tanner Hudson. He ends up being
Mm-hmm.
the second most expensive one over on FanDuel, and then he's 3,600 on DraftKings, and then over on FanDuel he's 5,300. He's kind of been Jake Browning's go-to guy. Couple receptions, and then other than that, Dawson Knox I will have a little bit of interest in. Pat Fryermuth, I really don't want to play him, but just kind of get different. Tight end is the way to go. And then Gerald Everett. There's like 4 tight ends for the Chargers. If I had to pick one, I would pick Gerald Everett. But other than
Yeah.
that, I'm not playing Irv Smith. Not playing Stone Smart. I'm not playing the rest of these guys. I'm probably Tanner Hudson will probably be my one, and then Dalton Kincaid behind him.
Yeah, I will differ a little bit on that. I will be playing a good amount of Fryermuth, just because we know what upside that he does have if he's targeted enough. So on the 2-gamer, he's in play for me. Dalton Kincaid, I'm hoping that people, you got to play one tight end, right? I'm hoping people will, be down on him, and rightfully so. But yeah, I think, like I said, I'm going to have a good amount of Josh Allen. I am going to have some Josh Allen stacks. I'm just not going to exclusively have Josh Allen stacks because I think he could run wild in this spot and, still get there. But yeah, I'll make sure I have some Dalton Kincaid, some Stephon Diggs, some Gabe Davis, some Dawson Knox, of course, but, kind of want to limit the damage in some spots. But yeah, I think both Kincaid and Knox are in play because they catch one touchdown and you're in the nuts, So both of the tight ends on Buffalo, obviously I just mentioned Fryermuth. Tanner Hudson, I like that call. Browning certainly likes him. So, you got to go back to Tanner Hudson. And yeah, and I think it's almost nice that, like with the Chargers, you have 2 guys that could potentially be active, both Everett and Parham. And, that way the field is like guessing who's going to be the guy to play. So I think in that scenario, I'm just playing them both.
Right. There you go. I will say, for your Josh Allen stuff, if anybody wants to play Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox, I don't hate it. It's kind of a way to get different. I'm not sure how much different that is, but both of them will get looks if, both of them can catch a touchdown. And I think a lot of people will play one or the other and they won't play both. So just kind of a way to get different. There's a kind of a path for that to happen.
Yeah, well, what I like about that too is if let's say you do like an Allen, Knox, and Kincaid with the salary savings, you could play like Eckler and Higgins, and maybe, Eckler, Higgins, and maybe like Mixon, something like that. That would be a lot more expensive, and normally, you wouldn't be able to get all those guys in. So,
right,
yeah,
so
unique.
But other than that, we got defenses, and Buffalo's obviously going to be the highest one on both FanDuel and DraftKings. It's $5K on FanDuel and then 3,700 or 3,500. It's actually Cincinnati on DraftKings is the highest price defense. So going up against Easton Stick, that's obviously they've been playing a lot better than I thought they would with all the injuries that they've had. And then the rest, I think you can, outside the Chargers, I think you can kind of mix and match. If one of these defenses get a touchdown off the other offense,
Right.
that kind of it's the game breaker. So I don't want to eliminate any of these from the equation.
I agree. Weird things happen. A punt return, I don't want to rule yourself out of a win. So I'm 100% with you on that.
So
I think
if I
go.
If I had to lean one, I'd probably lean Cincinnati on FanDuel just because it's a little bit cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
But and matching all these, probably except for the Chargers, I don't really have much interest there.
For sure. Yeah, I'm with you. Buffalo is clear in a way going to be my number one option, but I think I still want to get Pittsburgh and I still want to get Cincinnati because they're both of those sides are obviously going against backup quarterbacks. So want to get exposure to both of them, and then I think You play Los Angeles, maybe very small percent, maybe just be even with the field on them because, yeah, things happen. It's a weird slate. And, they're obviously, one of the cheaper options. So if you can make a lineup work that you really like, but you pay down, it's a 2,700, the cheapest option, Chargers, but they take a kickoff return to the house. Well, that's probably going to be enough. So you can't rule it out.
Even if they get blown out, it kind of covers them to where you can kind of pay up elsewhere for other stuff. But that's really about it. I think you and I are both on the full-on Bill stack, and then kind of mix and match a little bit around it.
Ready to get hurt again, because that's what should happen 99 times out of 100, but we've been getting a lot of 1 times out of 100 this year, so we'll see.
It's just been a weird season overall. Like I got killed this week. I had Christian McCaffrey in my lineup all week. Sunday morning happened where I changed him out for Kyron Williams because I like something a little bit different. CMC has 3 touchdowns. I got smoked. And then, just show back up for Christmas just to get hurt again. So I'm ready for it. Hopefully you and I both win some money and, go into the Christmas with a little bit of extra money in our pockets.
That's right. Hit that big deposit from DK into our accounts.
There we go.
Let's do it.
There we go.
All right. Well, happy holidays, everyone. Hope you have a great Christmas and win some money, and we will be back next week.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. You guys have a good one.
All right. Take care, everyone.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to smash that like button and subscribe. You don't want to miss what's coming next. We really appreciate it. And we'll catch you in the next episode right here on the Fantasy Fling DFS